Hi, this is Robb Seltzer, the Aortic Chef, and welcome to the Aortic Kitchen, brought to you by Aortic Hope on the AHTV channel. I'm going to work today with eggs, based on what our dietitian, Mindy, the aortic dietitian, spoke about on her program a couple weeks ago. We found out that eggs, contrary to popular belief, are healthy for us. The cholesterol in eggs is not the type of cholesterol that clogs our arteries. So we can work with them, we can eat them, so no reason for us not to enjoy them. I'm going to make a few different dishes today. As we go into this, I'm going to make a very popular dish called Shaksuka, which is a Middle Eastern, North African dish with tomatoes and peppers and eggs in it. I'm going to make some basic mayonnaise, which is a great skill to have and will also save you a lot of dollars. And we can make it without any salt, so it's healthier for you, and just a few basic ingredients for us to enjoy. And with that, it's summertime. So what's special for summertime with eggs? Deviled eggs. We got to have deviled eggs for our picnics and our parties, so I'm going to make a variety of deviled eggs. Well, I'm going to start today with the Shaksuka, because it takes the longest to cook. So I've got a pan. Shaksuka is basically a sauce with tomatoes, onions, and peppers and seasonings that is simmered, and then you drop eggs and poach them in that sauce and serve it with nice crusty bread. The flavoring is totally up to you. So I'm going to start, and we'll talk about it as we go. Got some olive oil here. That will be for sauteing. We have onions. We always start with our onions. And we're going to cook those for a couple of minutes and let them clear up, and then we'll add some more to it. Okay, there is our onion. It doesn't take long. We're just going to let that go around. Check that heat. There we go. Cook them until they are clear. And those will take just a minute or two. Here you can see all right, so the onions are still cooking here, and they're just about ready. So at this point, we have garlic, which remember, you never add your garlic at the beginning, because it will burn. It only takes about 30 seconds, a minute to cook. So we put that in. Once the onions are clear, we're ready to go. And how do we know when the garlic's done? Basically, when you can smell it, when it gets real fragrant, that means it is ready to go. Now it's getting pretty smelly in here. Lovely smell. Who doesn't like the smell of onions and garlic? Everybody likes that. So they're about done. It really only takes that long, because they're going to continue to cook in the sauce as we go further. Now, before I add I have my peppers, which I've diced. I've got some red pepper, some yellow orange pepper here. You can use any pepper that you like. Typically, I'll make them with poblanos. Poblanos you definitely want to roast and then skin them and peel them. The regular bell peppers, some people do, some people don't. A lot of the recipes you read up there, you don't have to bother with it. Just got to dice them up. You can use green peppers, red peppers, yellow peppers, orange peppers, a mix of anything that you like. The peppers are really up to you. And that's the fun thing about Shaksuka, is that it's very flexible. Use the ingredients that you like. So I've got seasoning to go with this. So I've got I made a mix. Usually cumin is the main spice that you put into it, and pepper, but I like to do a little change up with it and add more. So I've made a little mix here of cumin and what did I use? I got some pepper and some smoked paprika and other things. So I'm going to put about a tablespoon, but I want to cook that in with my onions so that it blooms, because the dry spices especially do need some time to cook out. So we do those first with the onions and allow them to absorb from the oil, and they will get very fragrant just like the garlic did. It only takes a minute again. Once you start smelling it, it's all good. There we go. Doesn't take long. They soak up all that oil that's in the pan. So I've got my peppers. And I like a little heat in mine, so I did cut up a jalapeno. And I'll have a cubanelle in the refrigerator. Again, just, you know me, zero waste, using things that are in the refrigerator, easily in hand. I don't like to throw things out. So it's a jalapeno and a little bit of a cubanelle. You know, cubanelles are kind of long, light green peppers. Usually they are sweet and mild. This one, we got a batch. They happen to be crazy hot. So in we go, crazy hot. Mindy's going to love it. Now we just need to let this cook probably for about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, okay, until everything is soft and working well. All right, ready? Yeah. Making sure that everything gets soft. So we're just gonna, we don't want it to burn, so I'm gonna stay on top of it for say about 5 minutes, okay? All right, so our peppers and onions and garlic and pepper, you know, the jalapenos and cubanelles, and our spice mix have all been cooking for about 5 to 7 minutes or so. They're all nice and soft, color still beautiful and bright. So the next step, and you can see how easy this is. Shaksuka really shouldn't take you more, even with the prep, cutting everything up, half hour is all it should really take. So the next thing we do is add that base. Now, any tomatoes that you want. All right, this was, by the way, about a cup of peppers and a cup of onion and then the garlic and the spices. To that, we're going to add basically a 28-ounce can of tomatoes and a 14-ounce can. So I want to make a little extra sauce. This is something you can make the sauce extra. We're going to poach the eggs, but you can save it and then use some of that sauce later. It'd be great on chicken. Okay, roast bacon chicken with it. But today, I'm using, you can use any type of tomato you want. So whole peeled tomatoes, diced tomatoes, crushed tomatoes. I'm using tomato passata, which is an Italian product, and that is basically just nice thick tomato juice. So put that in. This is a 24-ounce jar, so this subs for my 28-ounce. Okay. I'll put a little water in there, no waste. That'll all cook off. So put that in. Then my second, I have these lovely little Italian whole cherry tomatoes. Rather than diced tomatoes, these will give great texture and look real nice. So you can see the cherry tomatoes, just whole peeled cherry tomatoes in the can. You'll find those mostly at Italian markets. You don't see them anywhere else very often. So you do have to look for them, but they're wonderful. They're just have a great natural flavor. I like using them with seafood dishes. If I'm going to do a seafood with a tomato sauce, I use the whole cherry tomatoes because a little bit of tannin from the tomato skins really goes well. So I'm just going to mix this in. Mix it all well. Now we're going to have to let it cook for another 10 minutes or so. So we might get a little past that half hour, but that's okay because that'll be total 20. This will be another 5 minutes for the eggs. So let's say 45 minutes. It's still workable for a weeknight dinner. Okay. I'm going to adjust my heat because I want it to come to a nice simmer. It's all got to cook together. I want all the flavors to meld. So I'm going to give it a little bit more of a boost. Not too much. There we go. And I have a lid. And we'll let this cook for about 10 minutes. Here's what your sauce will look like while it's simmering. All nice. You can see the peppers and the tomatoes. There's one of those cherry tomatoes right on top. Ooh, and a little bubble. We're getting hot. But see, I want to show you these lovely cherry tomatoes. Okay, again, so we're going to let this keep cooking for a few minutes while we let it finish. Well, I think our sauce is about ready. This is simmering away. It's gotten a little bit thicker, which is what I want. Now, if you want a nice thick sauce, I might mine a little bit lighter, but you can use a little tomato paste. And what you do with that is take a couple tablespoons of tomato paste for this amount and put it in with your onions and spices, because you need to cook that, as I've done in many of the programs. You need to brown it, caramelize it just a little bit so that it sweetens and gets rid of the bitterness of the tomato paste. But that'll give you a little bit more body. Or use a thicker tomato. I use passata, so if you use crushed tomatoes or concentrated, this will be a thicker, or puree. Okay, so here we go. So before I add my eggs, this is all I have to do. I've got some fresh cilantro that I chop. I want to stir in. I don't want to overcook that. When you use fresh herbs, you don't want to add them very early, because fresh herbs will dissipate in a sauce, in anything that they cook with, a soup or a sauce. That's why we have dry herbs. Besides the preservation, they work better in a moist environment where they're going to cook for a long time. Fresh herbs tend to lose all their flavor pretty fast. So you want to do it at the end of the cooking process, or even on top, like when you go to an Italian restaurant and they put fresh basil right on top of your dinner. That's why, because it really tastes great. Okay, so all we have to do now is say, to make a little depression if you have the thick one. And I've got my eggs here. Now, these are lovely eggs. Interesting, though, how they're both large eggs from the same carton, but some egg yolks are big, some are small. That's part of the sizing that happens when they inspect the eggs, or just when the hens lay them. Nothing's ever exactly the same. It is Mother Nature. Now, you ever have a blood spot in your eggs? That little red spot? What do you do with them? Don't tell me you throw them out, because nothing wrong with that blood spot. That means your eggs are ultra fresh, not old, okay? That's a sign of freshness. And when you cook the eggs, that blood spot goes right away. You don't see it anymore. Same as with the chaleza, those little white things on the sides of the yolk. Those are yolk anchors. So when this is in the shell, those chaleza are connected to the sides, and they keep the yolk floating and keep it safe from being bumped around and so on, and then the chicken not being born. So they also disappear very quickly. So all we have to do is put them right down into our shaksuka. Now I'm just going to do 2 here. I've got enough here for probably 8 eggs, but just for demonstration, I'm going to do these 2. Put them in. Put the lid on. It's already simmering. When I put the lid on, I think it's going to get a little bit hotter. And we're going to let them cook for, let's say, 5 minutes. All right, checking the eggs after 5 minutes, and it's still a little bit underdone, so I'm going to leave it in there and let it go. Maybe cover it with a little bit of sauce so we can cook the top there. Okay, and I'll be back in just a minute. Well, I think our eggs are done. And we will see. Oh, lovely, beautiful, ready to go. So now it's really very simple. We're going to put some sauce. I have a nice little casserole dish here in our bowl. I mean, you can do this in any type of bowl that you wish. These casseroles are very nice. Grab our egg. Lay it right on top. There we go. Beautiful. I'm going to move this out of the way so we can do a beauty shot without dropping it. That would be a shame. Wouldn't have been the first time, though. There we go. Garnish, we have a little bit more of the cilantro that I put in. Again, sprinkle from very high. Don't put your fingers right on top of the food. Let it fall naturally. And I have some fresh chive from Mindy's garden. Go right on top. Okay. And this is best served with nice crispy toast, which has disappeared from